Hello, everybody, and welcome to Observations. Thank you for joining us today. When we started Observations many, many years ago, it was with the understanding that the television stations in Reno would not be competitive when it came to this particular public service show. I am glad and proud of the fact that over the last 7 years, we have had people familiar to many of you, like Tad Dunbar. We did a wonderful show with Viola Cody, who is the first Hispanic woman to lead a television station in Reno, in northern Nevada. And now we're going to talk with a person who may also be familiar with you, because he's had a series for 17 years. Amazing. And we're going to talk about a topic that we've never talked about before. Come back. We're going to talk about psychotherapy. Welcome back, everybody, and I want to introduce first-time guest Tom Lavin. So very, very happy to have you. You know, I'm wearing my therapy sweater. I've never worn this sweater on the show.
Yeah, same sweater that the therapist and ordinary people wore. The same kind of sweater. Yes.
That was quite a movie.
That was a great movie, and there was some good therapy done in that movie as well.
Before we talk, there's so many things. First of all, your background and your educational background and your therapy background. I have a feeling, because I'm a broadcaster, I get all the bulletins from the stations. And I am finding that there is more anger on the streets, more frustration. Even during the holiday season, you see people not as nice as you would expect them to be. These tough times.
Very tough times.
What are you finding from not only the people that you see, but the research that you do? It's hard to survive.
It's very hard to survive, and especially if we feel alone, if we feel like we don't have any support, we will tend to be more stressed. If we don't have access to resources that can help us deal with the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune in our lives, Bob, we will tend to be very distressed. People are stretched very thin. People are feeling alone. People are feeling like they don't know what to do. They don't know who to turn to. And so whether it's the psychotherapy practices at Northern Nevada Adult Mental Health Services or other state institutions, or people in private practice like psychiatrists and psychologists and psychotherapists, we are seeing more and more people turn to us for help, looking for answers for themselves as individual people, as couples that are feeling this distress, and also families that are feeling this distress. More and more people are turning to us, or other resources as well, or churches, also turning to churches and looking for help. But people are needing to reach out because they feel like they're up to here and they can't take it anymore.
I'm curious. You have used television as a communication tool with the series that you have created.
Yes.
And you've created 16, and you're on number 17. Do I have that right?
Yes, 16 years, and in 2011, when we do our series on addiction recovery, that'll be our 17th year.
Whatever brought you to saying, you know what, I want to do this on TV. I want to do a series. I want to help people by reaching out. I mean, TV is such a remarkable medium.
Yeah. Yes, it is, and it's a way to inform people. And as a psychotherapist, I know that if we provide information to people, they have an opportunity to make healthier choices. And so, going back as early as 1991, 19 years ago, I was asked to start doing little 3- and 4-minute interviews on KOLO in their daybreak with Terry Hendry early in the morning. And so every Monday morning for many years, I did this little interview, and we talked about stress, anxiety, depression, family therapy, raising children, teenagers with addictive disorders. And then in 1995, I got talking with the people at KOLO about expanding this and having a half-an-hour show, because people were saying they appreciated the little bit of information on Monday mornings, but that they wanted more information. And I shared with them that I could tap into the expertise throughout Northern Nevada, and we could have people come in and talk about all these different topics on Sunday mornings. And KOLO said, well, great, let's do that. And so we started this series, New Skills for Living, with the intention of providing health information, and that's physical health as well as mental health information to people throughout Northern Nevada and Northern California, so that they could have information to lead healthier lives. So in my training as a psychotherapist, I've realized that providing information is very empowering to people, and that's what New Skills for Living is about. It's about empowering people to make healthy choices, Bob.
Well, I am so impressed. My radio show, we're starting our 17th year.
Yeah.
Observations Radio, we're starting our 17th year.
Yeah.
And Observations Television, I believe I think we're in our, I don't know where 315, 320 shows puts us, but
Wow.
you know, we've been around. And the thing that I love about Observations is that we are carried on competitive stations, but there is no competition where it comes to serving the public. And that's I am so blessed, because I love doing the show, and you know, as a viewer, you know, we have sort of a new set, and we got new background, with new graphics,
very nice.
New lighting. They take good care of me, and I'm very grateful for having the opportunity to bring different guests. But you are so important, because so many of us hurt, but we don't know where to go. And so it's buried deep inside of us. One of the things I know that you are very much involved with is addictions. How do you stop gambling? How do you stop drinking? How do you stop beating your wife?
Yes, that's the question for someone. You talked about this stuff that's buried deep inside of us.
Very deep inside.
And one of the things that begins to bring that out, Bob, is pain. You know, the great teachers tell us that pain is the touchstone of growth. In addictions work, that's also referred to as hitting bottom. And that's that moment of pain when someone looks in the mirror and they see themselves for who they truly are. That moment of enlightenment where it kind of breaks through the denial, it breaks through the minimization, it breaks through the rationalization, and we look in the mirror and we see ourselves for who we have become, and oh my God, what have I done to myself? And sometimes it's looking in the mirror, sometimes it's looking into the eyes of our children, looking into the eyes of our spouse. Sometimes it's an employer telling us, you're no longer working here because of your behavior. There are all kinds of ways that reality begins to break through this stuff that's been buried, and we begin to face reality. We hit bottom, and then we say, oh my God, what can I do now? So that's the beginning, is the pain in our lives and really feeling it, and the next thing is hope.
And what we're going to do now is take a break.
Okay.
And we'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Observations. We're talking with Tom Lavin, psychotherapy founder, principal founder of the Employee Assistance Counseling.
Yes.
TV guru. We were talking about addiction, and we were sort of edging towards recovery.
Yes. So someone hits bottom, Bob, and then The next thing is hope. So hitting bottom is despair, but that's not all there is. The next thing is hope, and there's hope for a new life. That someone says, I don't need to live this way. I don't need to continue to damage myself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and socially. I don't need to look in the mirror with horror and disgust. I don't need to see this in the eyes of my son or my daughter or my spouse. I don't need to be losing my job or ruining my career anymore. So there is help and there is hope for a new way of life. And that's where reaching out comes in, and this idea of mutual support and mutual help. And that's what the series in 2011 will focus in on. Is not so much the problem or the biopsychosocial illness of addiction, but really addiction recovery. And I did want to mention too, Bob, part of recovery is this paradigm of helping each other, not being self-centered, but caring about one another and caring about each other. That's one of the things that has impressed me as a television producer, but even more so as a viewer, as on Saturdays and Sundays, as I go through the channels and I see your show on all these different channels and all these different times, is that you have developed this spirit of cooperation, this spirit of non-competitiveness. Addiction is very much about self-centeredness. It's just about this narrow vision of me and my. That is kind of the root of addiction. The root of recovery is very much about mutuality and people helping one another. And observations is part of that recovery paradigm, if you don't mind me saying so.
Listen, I will take any compliment,
Yeah,
and I appreciate that. I am very proud of the fact that on Northern Television there is the kind of cooperation and support.
Yes.
And I'm equally proud of the fact that my radio show is on 26 different radio stations in the state of Nevada.
Yeah, that's a great accomplishment. This feeling of mutuality and non-competition, but people really wanting to do the right thing and help everybody.
But it's our role as a broadcaster, really, to reach out to the community, to be there. That's why when you watch local news, it's important because, you know, it's one thing to watch national news. It's one thing to watch, you know, CNN, Fox, that kind of stuff. But they keep on calling it Ely, Nevada, not Ely, Nevada. Or you ask them to smell Winnemucca, and they don't have a chance. Local is where it's at, and that's why the individual television stations and TV as we know it still is terribly important.
Yes, it is.
And a show like this, you know, you look at, and you know, you've been doing it for 17 years.
Yes.
To have the opportunity to talk with the governor or mayors, but more importantly, to also talk to people who are doing an art gallery in Reno.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
That's what it's all about. We showcase the community.
Yeah. And you know, Bob, along those same lines in terms of people doing what's best for the community, one of the things that's been a real blessing on New Skills for Living is that so many people over the course of 16 years now have participated. There have been all types of physicians and nurses and social workers and psychologists and psychotherapists and marriage and family therapists from St. Mary's Regional Medical Center, from Renown, from Northern Nevada Medical Center, from Northern Nevada Adult Mental Health Services, people in private practice, people from different professions. Everybody wants to come on the show and share their wisdom and their expertise, knowing that the show is going to be shown throughout Northern Nevada and Northern California, and that people's lives will be touched and that people will be healthy. That's that sense of meaning and purpose that's shared among the healthcare community here in Northern Nevada.
What is that? What is psychotherapy? What is it?
Yes.
Can you do it so that I can understand?
Yeah, I hope so. Yes.
Okay.
Therapy comes from a Greek word that means healing. Psychotherapy is healing the psyche, healing the deepest part of the human being, the mental, emotional, psycho-spiritual part of a human being. So psychotherapy is where someone comes into therapy, whether it's individual therapy, couples therapy, family therapy, or group therapy, they're hurting, they're reaching out for help. And so as a psychotherapist, we're creating an environment where healing can occur.
How does healing take place? Because
Yeah.
say that you are my therapist,
Yes.
and we're sitting down probably in a different setting than a TV studio.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
is it the questions that you ask, or is it the answers that I give?
Great question.
Where does that connection
Yes.
finally come in?
That's a great question. So there are several dynamics that occur. The first thing is that someone has to want to change. They have to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. They have to say,
Oh, I love that line. Oh, I love that line.
they have to say, I don't like my life and I want to change. And I'm willing to have the courage to call someone up and ask for help.
So are you saying that I will come to you only when I'm really ready?
Yes. Yes, someone has to be ready and willing to change. And there are two things that occur, Bob. One is it can start with pain, or it can start with the vision of a new life and just wanting to have a better life.
I don't like where I'm at. Yeah.
Yes.
See, I don't like what.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times do we have a friend, neighbor, colleague who
Yeah.
says, I don't like what I'm
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah. Yeah, well, and your question is key. There's that joke about how many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? And the answer is none. The light bulb has to want to change. And so that's where it starts, is the individual person saying, I want to change. Like the alcoholic or addict saying, I don't want to live this way anymore. So the next thing is to show up in the therapist office and to come in with this desire to change. The next thing is honesty. Is the person willing to be honest with themselves? Are they willing to take responsibility? Honesty is very much, so we're no longer blaming. We're no longer saying so-and-so made me do it, or these other people are responsible for my life. It's me being willing to take responsibility for my life. I'm willing to take responsibility. I'm no longer willing to rationalize, minimize, be in denial. I'm responsible for the mistakes that I made. I'm responsible for the people that I hurt.
And I am responsible for this television show, and we're going to take a break, but we will be back with Tom Lavin. Welcome back, everybody. There's a quote that I like to give on this program every once in a while, depending upon, obviously, the subject. When I was young and went to Omaha, Nebraska, and I visited Boys Town, and there's a great statue, and they're talking about Father Flanagan, and it's a boy carrying another boy on his back. He ain't heavy, Father. He's my brother.
Yeah.
He ain't heavy, Father. He's my brother.
Yeah.
Now, you also have a saying that you like to...
Yeah, saying that I learned from the 12-step groups, and that is that you alone can do it, but you don't have to do it alone.
Say that again a little slower.
Yeah. You alone can do it, but you don't have to do it alone. So this idea of I have to take responsibility for changing my life, but I don't have to do it alone. There are other people that are here to help me. And I would like to then go back and actually, we were talking about therapy and psychotherapy, and of course psychotherapists help people in hundreds of thousands of therapy sessions across the country every week. But I do want to mention too, there are other types of therapy, that type of healing, and of course that can happen in 12-step groups, especially with addictive disorders. There's therapy that occurs there. There's healing that occurs.
But is it the questions you ask of me in a session, or is it the answers I give as say we're now together for a year, and we've talked about very intimate, private things, because there's a trust involved.
Yes.
But is the actual act of healing, recovery, for me as the patient, shall we say,
Yes.
putting Humpty Dumpty back together again?
Yeah.
I mean,
what makes the difference is that light bulb going off in the person's head that says, I got it.
Finally.
That moment of enlightenment, that moment of what some people, again, in addictions recovery might call a spiritual awakening. That moment of aha. That's what makes the difference. And usually in therapy, Bob, that happens in the conversation between the person and their therapist.
So how important is trust?
Trust is very important. In fact, without trust, therapy really doesn't occur. Without trust, people will not be vulnerable. Without trust, we will not open ourselves up. Those most hurting or painful or shameful moments in our life. And that's one of the things
So
yes,
for the people who watch this show,
yes,
who watch your series, who listen to Dr. Phil, okay. There are so many people who should get help.
yes,
They're not interested.
yeah,
Why would I want to go?
yeah,
Why would I want to go?
yeah,
And so, again, we bury our feelings,
yes,
and instead we become angry, frustrated, negative,
yeah.
mean.
Yeah, and we get into maladaptive coping behaviors to deal with those feelings too. We get into alcohol, drugs, money, power, sex, gambling. And so one of the things that's an
What's the heart of all those addictions you just named, from your experience?
Yeah.
What's the hardest addiction to cure?
Gosh, good question. You know, there's that saying about pick your poison. And I think for each individual person, whatever their addiction is, that's the hardest one to deal with.
Oh, wow. That's a powerful answer.
Yeah.
That's a powerful answer.
So each of us, you know, there's that saying about looking for love in all the wrong places. If we were to boil down what an addictive disorder is, it's looking for love in all the wrong places. So someone might look to alcohol, someone else looks to marijuana, cocaine, crank, gambling, work, sex. It seems then to fill a need. It's counterfeit and it's false. But physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, the person says, this is the answer. I feel whole. I love this. I need to do this again. And they keep doing it over and over again.
Do you love being a therapist
Yes.
more today than when you first started?
Yes. Yes. I love it more and more.
I mean, I can feel it.
Yeah.
I can feel it coming from you.
Yes. Yes. And you know, it's really what I was called to do with my life. I realized in my early 20s that the gifts that were given to me, like other people who are doctors or nurses or therapists or chaplains, the gifts that were given to me are the gifts of a healer and a teacher. And so I love it when those gifts are able to be manifested in a way that is helpful to other people, that can help make a difference in the lives of other people. And so sometimes people will say, Tom, how can you do that? How can you keep working with people that are depressed, anxious, bipolar disorder, PTSD, alcoholics, gamblers, drug addicts? How can you keep doing that? Isn't that depressing? And I said, no, people keep getting better. Individual people, couples, families get better. There is a road of recovery. And I get to participate in that. It's very humbling. I'm very grateful for that. I love being a part of that. It makes my day. It makes my life. As Viktor Frankl said, he said, it's not what we can get from life. It's what we give to life. This is something through the grace of God that I'm able to give to life. And I'm very grateful and appreciative of that, Bob.
What's it like when you see that spark and the light bulb has gone off, and all of a sudden the person who used to come in and for 10 minutes never said anything and was looking down, all of a sudden is looking you straight in the eye and saying, I'm ready to move forward. Yeah.
Actually, as you're saying that right now, I'm getting goosebumps. And the reason I am is that is a moment of awe. Again, when people choose a therapist to share the deepest part of their life with, and they're hurting and they want to live a new life, and the light bulbs come on and their life is beginning to come together, it's beginning to make sense from an addiction perspective, they're staying clean and sober, their life is back on track, It is awesome to participate in that moment of recovery. It's very humbling where someone allows us into their life and share that moment of their life with them. So it's very humbling. In the true manner of the word, it is awesome.
And it has been awesome having you on Observations.
Thank you, Bob. My pleasure.
When Tom first started out these past 17 years, who knew that 17 years later everybody would be going to websites? We have on the screen a very important website, and for more information about Tom and his series, and go to the website. Until next week. Ooh, I'm going to think about this show for a long time. Until next week, this is Observations. Bye-bye, everybody.